Hi, today we're going to learn how to take Cornell notes for AP World History. One thing that students in AP World History have trouble with is understanding how to take notes from the textbook and how to use them later on. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this with Strayer Chapter 2. In Cornell notes, one thing that you're going to do is divide the paper up in sections. First, we're going to start by drawing a line down the side of the paper here so that you have mostly space over here, but a little bit over there. What you're going to do here is this side is for key terms and review questions. As you read, you're going to leave this key terms and review questions blank. And then when you come back and you finish, then you'll take what you think are the most important words on this side where you'll put bullet points and lists of ideas in an outline. On the bottom, what we'll do here is divide off a section of the bottom as well. And so you want to leave that, and that's going to be for your summary. And the summary will be important because this is where you kind of condense your ideas into one big idea. A lot of the times in history, people tend to focus on tiny little details, when what we're looking for is those bigger ideas that connect to the narrative and to the story of history. And so what you want to do with the summary is go through and try to explain exactly what went on here and what the big points were. So, what you're going to do in this section is go through and make a quick review of this material. It's also helpful to label the pages or what exactly is going on here. You can call this Strayer Chapter 2, which may help you to be organized as far as when you're studying or if you have a reading quiz. Or you may want to call it the chapter of the title of the chapter, which is Beginnings of History. Which may be more helpful when you're studying for the test at the end of the year, so that way you know, okay, what the heck is Strayer Chapter 2 about? Because I'm guessing you're probably not going to memorize that. I'm also going to put today's date on here. Alright, so what we're going to focus on most is this big area right here. So let me adjust my camera. Whoa. Slick. Okay, so what I'm going to show you guys also over here on this side of the screen is we'll be taking a look at the Strayer text and kind of going through and writing down as we think. So, in the Strayer text over on this side of the page, so you guys should be looking where I'm highlighting right here. So in that text, what we'll be looking at, is reading. I'm going to read through a section and then we'll try and model what this would look like in Cornell notes. So, it says, what exactly are the civilizations that have generated such ambivalent responses among their inhabitants? When, where, and how did they first arise in human history? What changes do they bring to the people who live within them? Why might some people criticize or seek to escape from them? So, clearly the main idea here is civilization. So, I'm going to write down civilizations, but they haven't really told me anything worth writing down at this point. They're just asking a bunch of questions, so I'm going to go with civilizations. Obviously, we don't know if they're good or bad or not yet, or what they are. So, got to keep going. As historians commonly use the term, civilization represents a new and particular type of human society made possible by the immense productivity of the agricultural revolution. So, I may want to say that they started with the agricultural revolution, and I'm going to abbreviate agricultural revolution to save space. Also, I don't recommend doing this with your Sharpie. I may do it with a smaller pencil. Such societies encompass far fewer populations than any other form of human community, and for the first time concentrated those people within sizable cities, numbering many tens of thousands. Both within and beyond these cities, people were organized and controlled by states, whose leaders could use that force to compel obedience. So it sounded like people started to live in cities. And when people started to live in cities, they had leaders and states. Okay, so we've got leaders with states. The leaders with states had people used force to compel obedience. Profound differences in economic function, skill, wealth, and status sharply divided people of the civilizations, making them less equal and subject to greater oppression. So it sounds like we have civilizations caused unequal status and oppression. All right. So they became so we stopped with profound differences. So profound differences in economic functions, skill, wealth, and status sharply divided people of the civilizations, making them far less equal and subject to greater oppression than had been the case in Paleolithic communities, agricultural villages, pastoral societies, or chiefdoms. Okay, so there is more equality in Paleolithic society. Pyramids, temples, elaborate sculptures, palaces, written literature, complex calendars, as well as elaborate gender and class hierarchies laboring large-scale welfare, all of these have been among the cultural products of civilization. So I may say cultural products of civilization include palaces. Let's see what other stuff we have in here. Pyramids, temples, elaborate sculptures. I think all of these kind of sound like symbols of wealth. So now that I've finished this paragraph, I'm beginning to think, civilization. What happened during civilization? What's the author trying to say? And this may be where I start to come up with some questions or some sort of a summary. And so, again, you may not do this with every single paragraph. The idea is to read through and maybe page by every couple pages. Also, you'll be doing this without a Sharpie, so you'll be taking up less space. But every couple pages or so, you want to go through and kind of start to ask yourself questions and ask yourself, what's the main idea and what am I summarizing here? To me, it sounds like a big point that they're trying to make is that civilizations started some social class inequality. So, in this case, we want to say civilizations caused social inequality. Then you want to maybe come up with some evidence, because you never want to just come out with a statement without having something to back it up. So we want to show that, say something about like cultural and political evidence includes monumental architecture, so looking at the pyramids and looking at the palaces, and laws. So if we're looking at a review question, you may want to say what were some consequences or what were some effects of civilization, because it kind of starts, this looks like a causation paragraph. It says it starts with the agricultural revolution. People began to live in cities. And cities became leaders with, states with leaders. This caused unequal oppression. So could we say over here to the side, what was the impact of the agricultural revolution. Okay, so what we've done is we have recorded our question here, and we've recorded our ideas here. We've put in a summary at the bottom as well. So there's two things you could do. You could take this paper, turn to the next one, and go ahead and do the same thing on the back. Or you can also go through, and as we approach the next section, so you'll notice that the next section has a new heading, which means that more than likely it's going to be some new ideas. You can also draw a little line right here and move toward your next section. So if you if the next section's about Mesopotamia and the rise of those societies, you can add that there. Now you're wondering, how exactly does this help me study? So there's a few things you can do with that that's going to be helpful for you. So one is you can take something and put it over this side and go, what was the impact of the agricultural revolution? Well, here's what I remember. You can also go through and say, okay, so we learned about this stuff in class, but then I also remember from when we had the discussion about Jared Diamond in class, we also added in some details about specific effects that went on as well during the Neolithic Revolution. So I'm going to add these ideas in over here and scribble off something over here. You can also leave space if you wanted to. If you know that this is divided in, you could leave space for future ideas. You can also add in some more things over here to kind of draw. So you're like Paleolithic. What is Paleolithic? So there's a few things you can do there. You can also use the summary at the bottom to help you to kind of remember exactly what's going on here and maybe use that with your homework packets. So there's a few different things you can do as far as Cornell notes that may help you out. This is one strategy to help you dissect the textbook. We'll try another one in a couple weeks.